and welcome to the 11th episode of Splat in the Honolulu Blues. I am your host, Antonio Pop, and as always, I am joined by my good friend and co-host, Matt Pelage. Today we have two guests that are new to the show. One, we have one of my good classmates and good friends, Joe St. Andre. Joe, how you doing?
Today? I'm all
I'm
good.
doing good.
Good to
And
be
then-
here. Thank you for having me.
No problem. And then we have my neighbor and good friend, Jake Beck. Jake, how you doing today?
How you guys doing? I'm doing pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Are you guys excited to talk some NBA and college basketball?
Yep, fired up. Happy to be
Yeah.
here. And I'm excited to talk about something I watch and listen to every single day.
Yeah. So let's get right into it. So we all saw the two episodes of The Last Dance special on ESPN last week. What is your initial reaction? Do you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Give me how you guys feel about it.
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. And before we even start, okay, after that documentary, is there anyone here who still thinks LeBron James is the greatest player of all time?
I disagree with that. I do not think LeBron James is the best
Okay,
player.
you don't think he's the best. What about you, Joe? Do you think he's the best of all time? Or is it-
So I have been somebody that has passionately hated LeBron James for as long as I remember.
Just
And
make sure,
I-
because we have our other guy who's usually on. He is the equivalent of a flat earther because he thinks LeBron is the greatest of all time.
100%.
Yes. And this document, and Dwayne Wade just admitted that Michael Jordan was the greatest. That seals the deal. Honestly, I mean, this documentary was just so cool to get just that inside look on everything. And I mean, also you get it's finally giving Scottie Pippen some credit.
Well-deserved
Yeah.
credit.
So underrated and so underpaid. I mean, if I was Scottie Pippen, I'd be looking at the Bulls GM like, dude, what the hell? Like, give me some money or something.
Yeah, and then the thing I didn't like about, just the Bulls GM is he tried to split up the team just because,
Yeah.
he knew they're getting old. I'm like, you don't break up. If a team's on a championship run, you don't break that up. You let that go until it dies.
Yeah,
And-
that's true. Like the GM talked about their owner of the Bulls started talking about how the GM wanted credit for all of the making of the team. So I think that's part of the reason why he wanted to split it up, which is a totally wrong idea. You shouldn't just split up the team if they're winning championships.
Yeah.
I think the thing that it's going to have to talk about is that Bulls team is the greatest team of all time. 6 titles. They should have won 7 if they won the year that Jordan came back. The fact that somebody has the ego to go up and try to change things up is just wrong, and it's portrayed correctly. Everybody hates that GM now. It's sad to see that it had to end like that, because you could have seen a couple more years of just absolute dominance. Nothing like we've ever seen in any other sport.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
It's-
good point.
The
And-
only
and-
thing I would compare it to is
Go ahead,
the
Kyle.
Golden State Warriors a few years ago. I felt like that team if that team stuck together, could have been dominant. But,
Thank
I'll
God
give
they
you that.
died, though.
Yeah,
Thank
oh my God.
Thank God those suckers are gone. I know, Joe, you were a little bit of a Warriors supporter at one time. Not sure if that
See, I've always liked the Warriors. I just don't think you could compare them to the Bulls. Don't get me wrong, it's a good comparison. 3 out of 5, but 6 championships in 8 years is just unheard of, and I don't think we'll ever see that again.
Oh, yeah.
And part of the Warriors is they had 3-star players. I mean, the Bulls had 3-star players. The Warriors had 5 or 6 that came off the bench or played. So I think the comparison of the Bulls to the Warriors now, I think the Bulls are way still better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on to our next topic. Now, we were talking a little bit about the past. Let's move on to the future. Which big-time college recruit do you think is going to play the best in college football? Who do you think is going to be the freshman?
You mean basketball. You mean basketball, not football.
Oh,
You're
God.
good. You're good.
Wow. Great start for me, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to start this one out with Joe. Who do you think, Joe?
So I wear the Kentucky hat today because I think that there are 2 really, really good recruits that are going to make an impact on the next level. I think the first one is somebody that played with LaMelo Ball 2 years ago and played at Mott this year, and Isaiah Jackson. Growing up in Pontiac, I thought he's been really good all his life. Chase Ford, one of my good friends, played with him, and it's just said he's a talent unlike anything else. I'm going to have to go with you and say that he is going to make an immediate impact. I think the other one is one who played alongside Bronny James and Zaire Wade at Sierra Canyon. I think Brian Boston is going to be absolutely unreal. That Kentucky team is going to be a stud, or Brandon Boston, excuse me, is going to be an absolute stud team. I would watch out for that Kentucky team. I think they're going to have an immediately impact, and it'll be tough to knock that team off.
Good take, absolutely. Jake, what do you think?
I think two of mine are first one was Isaiah Jackson. He is very good. I saw him play a couple times. That kid's just another level of insane. He's got the ability, he's got the talent going to Kentucky, as he said, with all these other great players. I think it'll be a star team. And the other one is Matty Suzuko. I think he's going to be a great player at Michigan State and will fit in pretty well. And I think because of the athleticism and the power and the energy he'll bring to the team, I think they're going to do pretty well in the Big Ten.
Pop?
Yeah. I think Cade Cunningham is going to be very dangerous at OSU next year. I believe that he's really going to make a difference in that lineup. And initially, right off the bat, I don't think he'll be a bench player at all. Just the way he moves on the court, his vision as a point guard, the way he can score the basketball at will, and just the way he moves side to side, changing lanes, changing, the different, ways that he can move in the lane, outside the lane. It's just he's gonna be a dangerous player moving forward.
Yeah, I Cade Cunningham was one of my guys too. I mean, as a point guard with the ability, I mean, his court vision, the way he could snap the ball around the court is just ridiculous. Yeah. Another guy, this guy was also heavily recruited as a football player, committed to Gonzaga, Jalen Suggs. I mean, you have a guy that's this athletic that he can be that good at two sports. Not only that, but with the system at Gonzaga, I mean, you see them, put together these awesome teams every year. They're never able to close the deal, but they never have these superstar recruits. So I feel like when they finally get one, like Jalen Suggs, and I mean, maybe they've had one or two in the past, but none of them really like Suggs. I feel like once they can get a guy like him, it's going to be really interesting to see how he performs. I think he's going to do really well.
I'd have to agree with you on that. I think the comment about Gonzaga is that team is just always someone that is competing. Sometimes they don't put it together, but you see they make a surprise championship run against North Carolina in 2017. It's just that team's always in the mix, someone that I would definitely not want to play.
Yeah. So, Joe, you mentioned some of those Kentucky recruits. You went down to Kentucky, right?
I did go down to Kentucky this year.
The arena?
Saw the arena.
Coach Calipari?
Went down. Met Coach Calipari. That's just a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I'd say. Kentucky is a great arena, one of the best in the nation. It's just a tough place to play. It's a pro arena. That's the pro sports team down there because there's no real sports teams in Kentucky. So everybody gets fired up about the Wildcats. And let me tell you, they come to play every single game.
Yeah. So how would you compare the arena like Rupp Arena, where Kentucky plays, to the Breslin Center where Michigan State plays?
So I think the biggest comparison you got to make is that I think they're two totally different environments. I think that the Breslin Center, as you go down there, the students are all around the court. It's just a very taken in experience that the students are the center. It is loud in there and people are fired up. However, the average fan at a Michigan State basketball game is kind of into it. Not like they're into it, don't get me wrong, but they're okay. At Kentucky, the students are a second factor. The locals are like the students. Every single play, they're standing up, standing down, they're into it, they're loud. I think your average fan at Kentucky is better than your average fan at Michigan State. However, I would say the student section at Michigan State is better than Kentucky.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially now with yours truly joining. So, I mean, that's a big addition.
Oh, yes.
Huge addition.
It'll boost it no matter what.
Oh, yes. So let's make another transition, and this one into the NBA. And this one's just a pretty straight-up question. Do you think the NBA season is going to continue, or do you think this is it? It's just going to end?
In my opinion, I think it will end. I don't think that there is a foreseeable future to continue the season. I think it'd be just best to close it off and just start new. I hope that they bring it back, but in my opinion, no. I think that they will be done, and this will be the end of the season.
Yeah, I sadly have to agree with Joe there. It's getting too close. to for comfort. And I feel like with everything that's happening right now, with people trying to reopen the economy and all the politics, I feel like trying to fit sports in there when we really need to get other things going, that other things should be more important than just sports. I really think it'd be a poor move by the NBA. As much as I want to see the NBA come back, I don't see it happening. And I feel like they should just restart, just scratch the season. No one wins a championship and move on. Jake, what do you think?
I think I remember listening to the commissioner on the radio, hearing about what his thoughts were on basketball, and he says he doesn't really know. He doesn't know the effects of how it would play if they had no fans, if they played just all teams in one arena. I think his effects on it is he doesn't really know where he wants to go with it. I think as a self, I don't think it's a good idea because of how fast the virus spreads and all this stuff. It's very hard to control. They could do another way to raise money, do opportunities. You could do a 1v1 sort of scenario where you do a couple good players and they all play as a little tournament. You could just go to the playoffs. You could just have your top teams right now fight for a championship. No fans maybe, and just see how that goes. There's a lot of opportunities, but it's always a little risk to see what you want to do.
Yeah, but even like what Jake said about doing the playoffs, like just going right to playoffs right now, the problem is like what the MLB is trying to do. They're trying to bring everyone to Arizona, and then if someone gets sick, they quarantine. But the problem is many basketball players have already tested positive for the coronavirus. So, and basketball is such a physical sport, like not like baseball where you're kind of more spread out, but you're bumping guys, you're you're moving it with guys, and there's a lot more skin to skin contact than you see in baseball. And the biggest thing I see is how can you control that in an environment where these players are interacting with coaches and even, crew for the arenas, because people have to wash the floors when they get, put some water on it, scuff it up. And I just feel like it's so hard to bring basketball back because there's so many people that need to help out and help the arena out, especially on refs and such. And I just feel like it'd be really hard to just even do the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a question that just kind of came into my head. And yeah, I think the season's going to close down too. I just think there's, by the time you could get it up and started, the next season's like going to be.
As much as I hate LeBron, I really wanted him to raise the trophy and just say this is for Kobe. I just want to see that. Like that's the number one thing.
It's gonna happen. I mean,
it will happen, but like this year would be the best.
Milwaukee's tough. I don't know.
Come on, Giannis, baby. Come on, Giannis.
Exactly.
Really, you don't want LeBron to raise another one? Not this year?
No, I hate LeBron.
I don't know. I think
especially okay.
I think LeBron could have done it. I think with AD, LeBron, I think they could have did a very big push. The Warriors were totally out of this case scenario. So all they had to go through was pretty much maybe Houston, but pretty much they had to go through as the Bucks. And I think they could have done it with two great players on the team against a really good player. I think they could have done it. I think they could have.
I think we were clearly underrating the defending NBA Finals MVP in Kawhi Leonard. I think that team is very underrated, and that team would give LeBron a run. I don't think that people are counting out the Clippers. The Clippers beat them 2 out of 3 times this year.
Yeah,
I would say the Clippers are a good team that you gotta watch out for.
Absolutely. We have to get Kyle on here with Joe. So, by the way, Kyle is the flat earther who thinks LeBron is the best player ever. And we could get him on here and we could have him walk right into a death trap.
Indeed. That would be funny. That would be good.
That would be great. So, and this is just a quick question that would come to my head. You've probably seen a couple of joke videos of people like cutting out the crowd noise and like basketball and football and baseball. What sport would you think would sound the weirdest without fans? In my opinion, I think it's got to be basketball with all the shoes squeaking, the ball bouncing.
Oh yeah,
like baseball.
That would sound nasty.
It's still it doesn't move that fast in general usually. So the crowd noise doesn't have, I guess, add too much of an effect at the game. But basketball, there's always crowd noise. with so many baskets being made, big plays happening, steals, blocks. Crowd's always into it. So I feel like basketball without it, like the shoes squeaking, the ball hitting the court, there's an echo in the arena. I just feel like that'd be so weird. What about
I
you?
think I'll give you that. I think that there will be two, and it's not so much a sport. I think it's more of like a league. I think college basketball will be different because NBA, you got to remember that they play the music while they're playing, so it's not so
Yeah.
much like encore. College basketball will be a what is going on because that is totally student driven. I think college
Yeah.
football will also be a giant one because you see the Notre Dames, the Michigans, the Ohio States, the blue bloods of football, even that's down south in the SEC, Alabama, or Clemson's ACC, but Georgia, and their crowds are ridiculous. Their tailgates are nuts. No fans there would be just something that it would be surprising. I don't know if they'd play it without fans because I feel like college football is just there's something about the fans and the pageantry and the traditions that the fans are there, the student sections are there, the people come in to go see it. I feel like that would be probably my number one or number two behind college basketball.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with Joe saying like college. I feel like college is a lot more intense. It depends on the game though. Like the NBA, like playoffs and stuff, that is pretty intense. It does get pretty crazy. The World Series, I've seen that, and that is very insane. But I think college basketball and college football are probably one of the biggest sports down south, as Joe said. Like that is their life. That is their kind of game, I guess, or sport and all that. So like they base a lot of their life off of football. College football is a very big sport down there.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with pretty much everyone here. I feel like the college level would hurt the most because it brings in revenues for the university and just people are crazy about college sports because you went there, you have ties to that university or place, and I feel like it would hurt the most, especially because especially in March Madness, like we almost saw that without March Madness without fans. That would be I could never see that. That would be crazy.
Yeah, they had an edit on Instagram where it was like the Villanova buzzer beater, and they had like shoes squeaking and like
I saw that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So final question, a good discussion question. I think this one's gonna bring up a pretty good debate. It might not, but who is the greatest center of all time?
Shaq.
Start with you.
The greatest center. I'm gonna have to think about that one.
I got my answer. I think you cannot say there is a greatest center debate without bringing up Shaq. Shaquille O'Neal's the greatest. Probably should have won one more in there. Like he was just dominant. He should have won one with the Magic. Like nobody could stop him. You see the videos of him breaking backboards and just taking it all. Like I know of everyone. Like I feel awful for the entire Bryant family, but without Shaq, I don't think Kobe is as revered as he is today. I think Shaq is one of the greatest centers of all time. You see the dunk he hits in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. That is just nuts. I think Shaq is your best center of all time. Just no debate.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Joe. I mean, Shaq, just the way he could just dominate guys, just take over the game. I mean, you could say Kareem, but Kareem was more about like fluidity and grace and that high arcing skyhook, but he could not just run over guys. I mean, there's nothing that compares to Shaq. And you've seen guys try to have an offensive attack like him. And though it may be good, like I compare Joel Embiid to Shaq a little bit, the way they can try to dominate guys, but he just can't bully people like Shaq can. I think what was it? Chris Dunleavy, I think, when he dunked on him, and then he pushed him on the ground, and then Dunleavy threw the ball at him. I'm not sure if I got that name reference right, but I mean, a guy like that is it's unstoppable, and I think it's number one for me. It's unheard of.
I think I got one more person you guys probably forgot about. I say Wilt Chamberlain. I think he's one of the greatest
Wilt
centers.
is still.
He's if you see all the stats when they bring up like, oh, Curry's passed somebody or like Shaq has passed somebody for rebounds or whatever. You see everybody, and then you see Wilt at first place with like an insane amount of stats. Like that guy was just a different animal. Playing basketball, like yes, none of us saw him playing, but seeing the stats, seeing all the things that he's done, having 100 points in a game, that's unheard of around this time. There's no way nobody else would do that. Kobe on his highest was 80. So like, and Kobe's a great player. I think Wilt Chamberlain's probably one of the best just because he's a different kind of breed. I do agree.
Yeah.
Shaq is a very intense animal. I think part of Shaq is he's very aggressive. He's very built. He was great on the boards, great at dunking, could run the court. I just think Wilt's a better overall player.
I think I saw a thing of him. I think he ran a 4.5 40-yard dash.
That's impressive. That is impressive.
Think about that. A 7-foot guy, basketball player, running a 4.5. This guy, I mean, I wish this dude was around, for us to watch. Holy crap.
I'll throw in one more name for you. I think somebody who definitely deserves the mention of being in the discussion is Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah, Dream Shake.
Yeah.
Oh,
that guy could just play. He was drafted 1 overall in the Jordan draft. And even to this day, if you ask the Rockets to do a do-over, I'm sure there'd be a little hesitation there because Olajuwon was that good. I think Jordan's the best player of all time, and I think that he just made such an impact. But at the same time, Olajuwon won 2 championships, a championship with Houston. Like, he was just an absolute stud and just was awesome to watch. So I think Olajuwon deserves to be.
I tried to learn the Dream Shake in my driveway. I just couldn't master it. Also, I'm not 7 feet tall, so that probably wouldn't work too well for me.
You see, all of you guys are mentioning great players, but I think you're forgetting one player that's just the best center of all time, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Nice.
The man won 6 championships. He's a 6-time MVP. His career stats, 24.6 points per game, 11 rebounds. He averaged a field goal percentage of 59 or 55%. I mean, that's unheard of centers today. He could also, he also had a really good free throw percentage, which is unheard of centers today. Look at Andre Drummond. That man can't shoot a free throw if his life depended on it. And we all know it.
True story.
Him in Cleveland. Ugh. Wow, that was bad.
Dude, and his sky hook was the most unstoppable shot in NBA history. Like, the man was as dominant, maybe not as dominant as Shaq, but I feel like, Shaq bullied people, but Kareem was more the finesse center. He could get shots in that I don't think Shaq could, but,
I just want to say this is a little off topic, but I don't think that's the best shot. I think Kobe's fade is probably one of the best shots.
Ooh.
You got to go Kobe's fade, okay? His sky hook was good, but Kobe's fade, that is a great shot. It works like every time.
It was like a higher percentage shot than the fadeaway. Like though then I'm always that fadeaway was ridiculous and one of the best ever. I feel like the sky hook it went in most of the time. And Kobe didn't go in most of the time, almost half the time.
Well, that wraps up our NBA video, our NBA podcast talk. Tune in this Sunday for more NHL talk. I know we skipped last week because we had a bit the NFL draft and we had to prepare for that. And then come next Tuesday for MLB, and then we'll be here next Thursday to wrap up the draft and our draft thoughts about your Detroit Lions. Always, thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. And as always, stay healthy.
And stay classy.